McKenzie. We'll go ahead and open it up for questions.
Aside from Jamal, you have a young group, a little bit of experience, not that much. What are you looking for from those young guys?
Yeah, I think right now, like you mentioned, we got an experienced guy in the sense of Jamal had a really good year for us. And so now the biggest question mark is, who may be that second guy, right? And so I think the young guys are doing well so far in spring ball. They're all been pushing each other and competing really hard. So you have Trey Cooley, who did play some last year, who's in the mix and competing. Behind him right now you have Evan Dickens, who's having a really strong spring ball. And then we have Chad Alexander and also Anthony Carey, who's a mid-year early enrollee, who's actually doing extremely well also, too. I think right now we got a good group of young guys who are competing, practicing hard, doing all the little things that you ask, and feel really good about the group collectively as a whole right now.
Yeah, I was curious about your two true freshmen. Obviously, Maddox can't play right now. He's
Correct.
recovering from an injury. But with Anthony, just kind of what are the things he needs to work on? And then how do you keep Maddox, motivated as he rehabs? And I know he wants to be out there but can't. Just
Right.
kind of how do you keep his mind right as a true
I think
freshman?
I'll first start off by talking about Trey Maddox. Very mature kid, and loves ball, right? And so when you have a mature kid that loves ball, it's pretty easy to keep him motivated. He's in every single meeting, and I actually call on him in the meetings. He's on the sideline taking mental reps, and I'm always looking to make sure where he is just so he's doing that. And so what I love about him right now is, he's playing the game without being able to play the game. And so I think that's a mature approach. That would be a pro approach, and that's what he's doing. Actually, I walked in with him after practice today, and we talked about some of the plays that happened in practice, and we also talked about some of the special teams reps that happen in practice too, just to make sure that he's paying attention. So love where he is from a mental standpoint right now for a guy that's injured, but still staying involved, as you mentioned. Transitioning over to Anthony, I think Anthony's having a good spring ball. You always worry about as a freshman, how would they grasp the offense? Kind of where would he be in pass protection? Is he a physical kid, or is he gonna get bullied or whatever? And right now, doing really good with the playbook, and also doing fine in pass protection as well. So there's still some things he has to learn in terms of where he fit in protection. But when it comes to actually fitting up a guy and protecting, he's actually showed that he can, and he's more than willing to. So that's the biggest thing too. Is he a willing blocker, which he is. So, like I mentioned, man, I'm excited about where he is right now in the progression that he's taken from practice 1 to practice 8.
Chad?
Just had Jamal in here. It doesn't seem like complacency is ever an issue with that young man, but how do you keep him motivated to take another step in his career?
Yeah, I think what motivates Jamal is just he loves ball, right? And he's very, very competitive. And when we talk about it's either standard or it's below standard, all right? And so he probably had an aurora about himself today. Like today wasn't the standard, okay? So he's a little bit upset about that, which all competitors would be, right? So he's a guy that that was one of the things that I loved about him last year. Where some people may say, man, he's angry or he's mad. He really has a high standard for himself. And when he doesn't reach that standard on that particular play, sometimes it upsets him. And so we have a great relationship of understanding, okay, I understand that was a bad play. You also have to have short-term memory and realize, hey, we can't let that bad play lead into the next bad play, or a bad series or a bad quarter or a bad half or a bad game, right? So we always talk about having short-term memory, but at the same time, I don't want to take away the competitiveness that he has. I don't want to take away the standard that he set for himself, which I truthfully love that about him. So.
You mentioned Trey Cooley a little bit ago. What kind of spring is he having right now, and kind of what are your expectations for him this season?
Well, doing well. I think my expectations for Trey is to play how he played in the first 2 or 3 games, right? We saw glimpses of Trey where it was like, man, unbelievable, really, really good, right? And then there were times where he wasn't as consistent as he was in the first 2 to 3 games. So I think the biggest word for Trey this spring is consistency, because he shows flashes that he can do it. It's just a matter of doing it all the time. And so, that's the biggest challenge I have for him this spring is, hey, man, if you could do it on one play, then you could do it on the second play. You got to be able to do it on the third play. So that's kind of where I am right now. I feel like he's a talented kid. We talked also too about just honing in on some detailed things in terms of the run game and the pass game. But he knows that, and once he knows that, he's embraced that. Now he's trying to work on it.
Rob, then Kelly.
Going back to Carey, talking to him before he came to Tech, he seemed like a pretty confident kid. Has that translated to the field since he's been here?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. He's a very confident kid. He's a very conscientious kid. I think in order to play ball, like, you got to have confidence in yourself. Okay. I talk to the guys all the time about the game is played from the neck up. And one part of that is actually having confidence in yourself that you can do it, okay? So when I'm teaching and coaching these guys, I'm going to give them constructive criticism. I'm going to be on them when they make a bad play. I'm going to lift them up when they make a great play. But I'm also going to let them know, hey, man, there's some growth that always has to happen, okay? And so you can never get down on yourself. Just look at it as a growth moment. And from there, he has, all right, and then now he's doing better. So this is really good. But in terms of his confidence, I don't think he lacks any.
From talking to Buster and some of the offensive guys, I know you guys want to add more stuff now that you have the core back in same offense and so much production back too. And you guys, dabble with 2 running backs and things like that before. Do you feel like you have a lot of guys who can catch the ball? Do you feel like you guys are in a position to be more creative with personnel packages and have the running backs be a little more involved in the passing game in terms of catching?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as we went into the offseason and you self-scout yourself, all right, that's some of the things that we talked about in our self-scout. In addition to that, like, every coach on our staff had a responsibility that they had, right? So one coach may have to study the Miami Dolphins. Another coach had to study the San Francisco 49ers. And so then you pick and choose what you like that organization or program does. And so we're fine-tuning some of the things. But in the NFL, like you just mentioned, there's a lot of multiple packages, personnel packages. There's a lot of trays. There's a lot of shift. There's a lot of motion. So when it comes to those things, in the running back room, you'll love to have 20 personnel out there, and it can be 20 personnel with 2 running backs. It could be 20 personnel with a back and another receiver back there who's a running back type, right, and who can run the ball and also catch it. So I think as we move forward in year 2, we definitely want to be versatile in the sense of our personnel packages and use that to our advantage.
Anything else, Coach? Okay, Coach McKenzie,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate